What's up, people of YouTube? Dark One back with you, this time for a little bit of a rambly, vloggy sort of thing. So, this Friday we have Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, coming back out in 3D. Yeah. Just the thought of Jar Jar Binks in 3D makes me get a little bit ill. But, okay, so this here comes the ranting part, okay? It's... Star Wars as a whole, I will probably go see it, mostly because I consider myself a slightly above average Star Wars fan. And, but I'll tell you this, if I have to go to the bathroom or get a refill on my popcorn, I'm not going to worry about missing a damn thing. And, it is what it is. And, also in the past couple months now, or month, just saying George Lucas is going to retire. Okay, and I don't, if he does, he does. I don't think a lot of people can really comprehend how rich George Lucas really is, or how much money he gets from every little thing. George Lucas pretty much runs Hollywood, okay? And here's a couple examples. Let's start off with just Star Wars. Let's see. He has all of the complete merchandising, licensing rights to Star Wars. So every time you buy a Star Wars figure, or pretty much anything that has Star Wars on it or based on it, Hasbro in general makes most of the toys. Let's say out of 100% profit, Hasbro is going to get like 3% of that. Yeah, he makes that much money on the stuff. Let's see. In other, of course, the movies, same thing. He has all the. And I'll give him due credit for that. I think that's kind of boss, because if you don't know the story, basically back in the day, 20th Century Fox had so little hope, or they're like, well, these movies might do good, but I'll tell you what, George, you can have all the merchandising rights, so they wouldn't be burdened with it in case the movie's bombed. And well, as we all know, Star Wars has done fairly well for itself. So, more power to him on that. It's every little thing on Star Wars. Funny enough, if you own a Droid phone, he actually gets a small percentage of that because it's named Droid, and it's a electronic device. If you don't believe me, look at your copyright information. It's one of the first or second lines in the little copyright information. It's like one of the first or second things. It's like, Droid is a trademark of Lucasfilm Limited. He gets a cut of that. He gets a cut of what you pay for the phone. And that's awesome. To me, it's money grubbing, but it's pretty awesome. Some other things. Let's say you go to a theater. It's going to be in surround sound. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in THX. Who owns the parent company of THX? Industrial Light and Magic. Who owns Industrial Light and Magic? George Lucas. So, as far as him, not being, he can. It's kind of like when Bill Gates resigned. It's not really going to matter. He's richer than I don't even know what. So they're good. It's just so they don't have to deal with it. As far as the movies and stuff, though, now don't get me wrong. I'm an old school Star Wars fan. The prequels I'll tolerate. I'll get into that here in a second. I'm an old school indie fan, and I can appreciate his older work. I haven't seen Red Tails. I did hear good things about it. But it's like, so what if he's not going to do movies? Let's face it, as Star Wars fans, and this will kind of where it drifts into the ranting part of it, just so you know about the prequels and Star Wars in general. Let's face it, for years, all we had was the original trilogy. And, there were fan fiction, let's face it, it starts on episode 4. So in theory, the scripts existed, to lead up to that point. There were some, maybe not as detailed, or maybe not, to make the movie off of them, but for whatever reason, he chose 4, 5, and 6 to start and make the saga. The joke amongst a lot of not as big Star Wars fans is, oh, well, Lucas had a free weekend, we have the prequels. I almost halfway agree with that at some points. But, it's kind of like, for the longest time, all we had was the original trilogy. We were happy. Shadows of the Empire came out, and he accepted that as canon, along with like some of the Jedi Outcast stuff, where Luke would start his own academy and all that as official, what would happen. So it got to the point as fans, we were like, "Oh, come on, give us movies, give us the next three, give us the previous three. We want more movies, George. Star Wars is awesome." And look what we got. I'm not necessarily completely bashing the prequels, but in my honest opinion, they are nowhere near as good story-wise. Just something about it. They don't have that, what made me like Star Wars as much as the original trilogy does. And it's just like, well, be careful what you wish for, sort of thing. So as far as him making more movies, another prime example, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Surviving a nuclear blast in a refrigerator. Enough said. I'll just leave it at that one. But, I mean, overall, as a whole, as the prequels, and even to a more extent, the Clone Wars animated series, it's like George said in an interview, it used to be there was just Star Wars fans. Well, now there's original trilogy fans, there's prequel fans, there's Clone Wars fans that quite literally may or may not have any clue of the others existing. And I can appreciate that as a fan of the original brand, that it brings other people into it. But, it's just like, like one of my good friends, he's a big Star Wars fan. His fiance is a big Star Wars fan. His daughter is still, I want to say she's probably about 4 now. And, well, if it wasn't for Jar Jar, she would have never given 2 cents about Star Wars. So I can appreciate the changes in some of the formats to bring new fans into it. But, I don't know. It's just, like one of my big problems with the Clone Wars animated series, a lot of it, if you don't know, actually takes a lot from fan fiction and from other stuff that Lucas has accepted in, like, this happened in the battles. And some of it I really dig, like when they use that kind of stuff. But the episodes where it's like, "Oh no, Amidala's poisoned," you just save the 20 minutes of animation you're going to have to do, because we know she doesn't die. And it's just blah. So, stuff like that. And, it's kind of like watching the prequels, and every time, like, Obi-Wan or Anakin will get in a sticky situation. Although, to be honest, it honestly wouldn't have surprised me if they died and they cloned him. Like, I could almost see that. But, overall, you're like, well, he's going to live because he's in the other ones. And that takes away from it a little bit. It's hard to watch something when you know how the story ends, and I think that helps it. But if you're a new fan, you can go to it with open eyes. Will 3D help it or hinder it? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure the pod race scene will be pretty cool. I think when you just kind of imply 3D into something that wasn't originally shot in 3D, it's pointless. Like, and that's kind of like rant part of video coming up. It's kind of like where it kind of ticks me a little bit. It's like I see the commercials, and it's like, experience Star Wars for the first time again. This is, well, the prequels have only been in theaters twice now, with the 3D release. But when it gets to it, there will be, in case you don't know, it's going to be a movie every year, one every year. And, but when it gets to it, this will be at least the third time that comes to my mind for the original set, which I'm all for. I love seeing it in the movie theater. It's just one of those good movie theater movies. And again, will 3D help the old ones as much as it may the new ones, or hurt it? It's hard to say. Like I said, if I don't think something that was never really intended for 3D, and you just kind of like make it 3D, it's just kind of like, I need money sort of thing. That's what it strikes me as. And it's not like he does. So I don't know. I will go see it, because like, I feel like my fandom kind of negates me too. But like I said, I will not have any gripes about getting up and going to the bathroom or anything like that and possibly missing something. The only things I'm really looking forward to is the pod racing scene and the final lightsaber battle. And honestly, to see if he changed anything else in the prequels. Like, I was going to get the Blu-rays for the complete set, and I get going back and fixing some of the edits. I get going and cleaning up pictures. I get going in and even adding in some scenes that make sense, that now you have the technology to do what you didn't have before. I can appreciate that. But some of them edits just... Greedo didn't shoot first. I don't care what anybody says. It didn't make Han look like a murderous asshole. It just made him look badass. Another really big gripe is when they added Hayden Christensen in as the ghost at the end of Jedi. Oh my lord! When I first saw that, I think I don't, maybe it was in the theater. I'm not sure. Whatever it was, I stopped watching it because I was just like flabbergasted that he did that. But in slight defense of that, if you really think about it, it halfway makes sense. Because the ghost is meant to be what he was before he was Vader. And when the original trilogy came out, we just really didn't have a concept of what he looked like. So they just took the guy that was in the suit at the time and did the half face shot and made him normal looking. So it does make sense, but that doesn't mean I have to accept it. Like, it's just kind of like, leave the original ones as the original ones and do whatever you want with the prequels. Don't. Yeah. Other little tweaks like Ewoks blinking. I mean, it's kind of dumb, but it's just like, why? Like, if you really ain't got nothing better to do, George, maybe you should retire. So anyway, this has been a rambling / rant / vlog on Star Wars and George Lucas in general. It's just been something that's been on my mind. And what a better place to vent your random opinion than the glory of the internet. So if you stay tuned, congratulations. Maybe you agree, maybe you disagree. Please feel free to comment. And yeah, so we'll catch you next time.